Hey, thanks so much for hanging out with us. And I do mean us because Rob will be along shortly. It is Russell and Hunter. I'm Mike Russell. He will be Rob Hunter joining us in a few moments. I'll keep checking my text to see if he needs to be let into the program, but he was distracted by a call. So it's me and Robbie, me hanging out with you right away. And hi, this is a interesting time now that we're going to get to Governor WALZ in just a few moments. But the thing that really freaked me out about what's going on in our world right now is that we completely as a nation are rudderless. I mean, I understand that the decline of Joe Biden has been the decline of Joe Biden mentally, physically. It just been Mike Solo. I wish it was Mike Solo just because I dig the name. No, it's actually going to be Russell and Hunter in just moments. Rob will be joining us here as we get things cooking. But the thing is, we actually have a rudderless nation. I want to show you. You got to understand what's going on. Robbie's here. Okay, good. What's up, Robbie? See, I told you he'd be around. What I wanted to quickly expose before I get into the redneck Kennedy is that we talk about Kamala Harris and what a bozo she is, and we talk about Governor WALZ, which we'll get to in a moment, what a socialist he is. But we understand we still need a president of the United States. We still need a pres, right? What about this, please? Just listen.
Do you think Iran will stand down? Do you think Iran will stand down, sir?
I hope so. We don't know.
That's it. Commander-in-Chief job, the Commander-in-Chief's number one job, Rob, is, as we know, tell everybody chill the blank out. Daddy's got this. Daddy's here. I'm in charge. I have this. Not a, hey, we'll buy some flowers. And that get asked about Iran and go, I don't know. I hope so. Gee, they might have a nuke. We really hope they're going to stand down, but who knows? Yeah, but I got flowers and some chugga chip. That's the scariest thing. Forget about WALZ. Forget about Kamala. That's the scariest thing we got to deal with right now.
Well, that's why do you think it's happening? I mean, it's happening right now for a very specific reason, and you just answered that reason. And that reality is, without a strong president, the world's like, all right, America's not going to mess around with anything.
Yeah.
Cool. They have a weird relationship with Israel right now because half the Democratic Party does not like Israel as a state. Now's the time to take advantage. And I think that's that main lesson in having a president that is weak, who doesn't use the bully pulpit in appropriate ways. Because I look at the presidency, Mike, two ways. Number one, you're the executive of the United States. Your job is to make decisions and execute on those decisions, run the federal department, the federal government. Second thing is communicate with the American people. That is not what this administration has ever been good at for obvious reasons. They've been trying to hide Biden from day one. But in a situation like this, you really want some strong communication from the White House that gives you that confidence that, like you said, Mike, don't worry, we're America. Yeah. Doesn't matter which party our president is. We got this. Not today. We don't have this today.
And to think about this, and is what Rhonda said this, is she feels more secure with Biden at the helm, obviously, than Kamala Harris. But then you basically just mean Obama's at the helm. Basically, we're back to where we were in the DNC and the powers that be in the Democrat power structure running the entire show, which they have been for a hot minute. But I guess it would give you instill a little more confidence maybe into our markets, so to speak, if we just knew that everything was status quo at this point. But our leaders don't know. I mean, sorry, our enemies don't know this, don't care. They just see that and go, okay, oh, that's going to be his response. Yeah, Xi Jinping's like, hey, what's going on with Taiwan? Have we looked into that? Is now our time, baby? Is now our time? Do we? Okay. Oh, we're going now. Should we? I don't know. Let's go now. You have to, because this all happened pretty damn quickly. I mean, it might not have happened in the halls of power. It might not have happened quickly, but I mean, relatively, from a government standpoint, this happened pretty damn quick. Especially Nancy Pelosi threatening the 25th. Woo! Holy mackerel. We're going to get to Jamie Raskin a little bit later, too. Jamie Raskin was sitting down a little, a book signing or whatever the hell that fraud was doing. And he basically called exactly what the Democrats are going to do if Trump wins. It's scary. So we'll get to that. Would you mind, though, before we get to WALZ, because I did promise the team, Rob, This is our show, guys. Keep commenting along, sharing it out, bringing people in. This is our squad. I did promise the peeps that we'd say, okay, if Redneck Mike was born a Kennedy, what would he sound like? And I would sound exactly like RFK Jr. I want you to hear. So he's chilling in Roseanne Barr's kitchen, like you do. I guess that's the thing. But here he is.
In a group of people falconing up in Goshen, New York, up in the Hudson Valley, and I was supposed to meet them there at like maybe 8 or 9. I was driving.
Right there, he said something about falconing. So everybody knows that's hunting with a falcon. That's literally just holding the thing up. It goes and gets the bunny, the duck, whatever, and it comes back and it brings it to you and it drops it to you. That's falconing. It's really cool, by the way. And rich people do that stuff. They love that stuff. I'm telling you, they're all about that.
Like Middle Eastern princes, they're all about falconeering.
Are they really?
Yeah, they love it.
Oh, no way.
Yeah,
dude, get me a plane ticket. Let's go, man. I want to do that. Yeah.
Also, one of the employees at the Safeway that's near my house, so I had a conversation with falconeering with. He was like a 20-year-old kid.
We just call it falconry.
Falconry.
Yes, falconry, yeah. And yeah, this watching them duck hunt is probably the coolest thing you're ever going to see in your life. And they know what to do, which is the craziest thing. Anyway, RFK Jr.
You know, really early, like 7, and that woman in a van in front of me hit a bear and killed it, a young bear. So I pulled over and I picked up the bear and put him in the back of my van because I was going to skin the bear, and it was very good condition, and I was going to put the meat in my refrigerator. And you can do that in New York State. You can get a bear tag for a roadkill bear.
So there you have it. So RFK Jr., we're going to get to the second part in a second. It's long, so I'll cut it down. But RFK Jr., just like me, if I see roadkill, I'm like, wait, nah. If I hit something, somebody in front of me hits something like an elk, a deer, stuff like that, on the horn with Game and Fish right away saying, I'd like a salvage tag, please. And they'll give you a salvage tag. They will send it to you, and you get to just process that deer, that elk, and that's it. That's what I love. This guy is talking my language right here. He's talking the language of the people. And by the way, nice spread Roseanne put on. The camera went over there. I was like, where? Roseanne put on a spread from a man. Here we go. Oh, here we go.
And so then we went hawking, and I had the bear in my car. And then we had a really good day, and we went late. We were catching a lot of game, and the people really loved it, so we stayed late. And instead of going back to my home in Westchester, I had to go right to the city because there was a dinner at Peter Luger's Steakhouse.
So anyway, he gets away where he can't.
A lot of details. A lot of details.
Yeah, a lot of details. So basically, he comes with it. He's telling this whole story. He comes with realizing that he's got to leave this steakhouse and get on a plane, so he can't do anything with the bear. So he's got to get rid of the bear. So he's by Central Park, and he finds that there's a lot of biking accidents with wildlife and cyclists. And he said he had a bike that he was getting rid of in the back of his truck. And so he actually set up the bike as a wreck and the bear, and he ditched the thing in a ditch to make it look like a cyclist hit it. I'm like, okay, the whole roadkill thing is very Mike Russell. If I were a Kennedy, I would probably do something stupid like that. Like, we got to frame somebody, but I don't know whose bike this is, but he'll throw it over there with him and make it look like he flipped over the bear, and the bear's just done. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Why is he telling the story?
Because somebody got a hold of it. Somebody got a hold of it, and they're putting it in the New York Times, I think it was, saying he kills bears. He tried to frame somebody, this, that, and the other thing. This is him getting in front of it, is all it is. But I'm like, we see, Governor Noem talking about, I shot a puppy in the face. And now we have RFK Jr. I took a little bear cub and chucked it in a ditch and tried to frame a cyclist for it.
Well, that's some idea, too, of the gossip of politics that we love. So when JFK was the president, his uncle, Robert Kennedy Jr.'s uncle, no one cared about what John Kennedy was doing outside of his marriage. Everybody knew. At least the press knew. The Secret Service knew. It wasn't well hidden. It was just like, okay, fine. He's running the country, okay? Same thing. New York Times has a scoop on a story about a bear and RFK. Okay, cool. RFK is not going to win. It's
I know. I just think it's if Mike Russell was born a Kennedy. This is stuff I would be telling you if we're having beers like last night.
And that's a beer story. That's a great beer story. Over a beer. I'm going to tell you about the story I did. I picked up this bear once.
Yeah. I had to frame somebody. So I crashed a bike and said, I didn't have time to get it. Oh man, bear meat is good. Brendan, my man, this is funny. So Brendan said this. Yeah, the thing's not going to leave it alone. I didn't believe my girlfriend when she said this. When she said I saved a dove, and now every time I go out in my backyard, it was years ago. Every time I go out in my backyard, the dove lands on my head. And I'm like, no, that's not. No. The first picture she sent me was her with the damn dove sitting on her head. So I guess it's a thing. When you save a bird, I guess they're like, okay, dude, you're my crew. Let's hang out. Yeah, Rob loves birds too.
I'm coming around.
Are you really?
Yeah,
Why is that?
I enjoy watching them hang out in my backyard and go in the bird bath and hang out in the mesquite tree and do little bird things that they do, like fly.
You do. Wait a second. Say this again. What did I miss? I missed something in that whole story where you just sounded like you said you go into a mesquite and do bird things like fly. What did you say?
No, that's what the birds do, and I like watching them.
Oh, okay. I was like,
Yeah.
Rob's in there being one with the bird. I'm in the mesquite and one with the bird.
Yeah, I try to fly in the backyard on my mesquite tree. I try to stand on that tiny branch so that a bird can stand. It doesn't go so well, but I try.
No. And so does this mean that that September 1st we're not doing any dove hunting together?
No, too early in the morning.
In the evening, nerd. I know who I'm dealing with. But are you like one with the birds now? We're not going bird hunting anymore?
I don't know. TBD.
Okay.
It's not because I'm one with the bird. It's just, I'd rather hunt a deer. Let's put it that way.
Oh, okay. All right. Dove are yummy though, man. All right, let's get to it because this is a pretty dang big deal. The running mate was selected. Everybody had eyes on Pennsylvania Governor Shapiro, and no, it is actually Governor WALZ. What's that?
Too Jewish. Shapiro's too Jewish for the modern Democrats.
He's Jewish that was denouncing his Judaism. Was basically, as a Jew, I can say this. I can say, dude, the guy's a punk.
We're already going to be protesting in Chicago. When's that? 2 weeks from now when the Democrats meet? There's already going to be pro-Palestine protests. They didn't need to exacerbate this. We're the Democrat Party. We can't actually pick a guy that's qualified if his label is incorrect.
But I got to tell you this. I got to tell you this, and Rob, I do agree with you to a pretty large extent, except for I think that what we just witnessed, and I'll say what I agree with first. I apologize. When you say that nobody votes for a VP, I agree. Got it. I hear you. I feel you on that. I think, though, what we have just witnessed, this unprecedented BS with the DNC letting this bag of bones go through the entire process of the primary and then planting someone at the end, we're kind of thinking, okay, the needle might have moved a skosh on that nobody votes for vice president. You know what I mean? Like, we kind of have this vibe, right? Do you see what I'm talking about? We kind of have this like, this might be something that we should probably pay attention to, these running mate people.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's always the case as far as like we pay attention to it. They make a good splash when they get that media attention and everybody goes, okay, cool. Like the biggest one that I can think of running mate choice was the Sarah Palin one because it came out of left field and McCain needed a spark and she provided a spark, but ultimately it didn't matter. So it matters today. But the reality, I don't know anything about this guy, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. I know literally nothing about him. So I just, I'm at this point kind of detachment. I'm like, okay, cool. Another politician from another liberal state.
Well, he was, and the reason why I know the guy, he was a big NRA dude. He's a huge NRA guy. He was backed by, NRA was funding this guy. And then he just left turn. He voted in 2011 for reciprocity. Reciprocity, is that the right word for it?
When you can carry a gun.
So like nationwide, we can carry it. Every state, if you have a concealed carry permit, will honor your concealed carry permit no matter what it is. He voted for that. Yes, that was an NRA guy. Fast forward to 17 to 24, and no more NRA money. And he's making sure that will never, concealed carry permits will never be allowed in Minnesota. So I've been following this guy for a little bit, not too closely, but it was one of the flip-flop brigades, especially when it comes to gun rights. So I'm all about it. And now the dude's just absolutely off the damn rails. And this guy has a record actually not like Kamala. He actually has a record that you can point to and say, crazy. He's crazy here. He's crazy here. He's crazy here. Kamala doesn't have that. It's very Obama-esque. There's not a lot of history there. So here's what he said on the White Dudes for Kamala Zoom call. This is really all you need to know. Come on.
Out there, reach out, make the case. And for one thing, don't ever shy away from our progressive values. One person's socialism is another person's neighborliness.
One person's socialism is another person's neighborliness. So when we turn the country as best we can to socialism, that just understand that's just neighborliness. That's really all it is. And he has a wife that's as off the bleeping rails as he is. When she said that during the riots, she could smell the tires burning. They kept the windows open in their house to basically bask in that, just to bask in the fires and the flame and the buildings burning down. I'm like, y'all are nuts. So that's who Kamala picked.
Better
Good
win.
luck.
Better win. I mean,
That's
that's
just absolutely.
that's the only thing. I mean, it is. Again, think about the long-term strategy. Socialism is halfway here already, and we've already voted for it. So I somewhat find the socialism argument a little bit half disingenuous because half of our government is socialist policies. So this is going to be the other half that we're going to vote in over the next 15 or 20 years so that America with these policies will look completely different than it does now, even in 2044, when Mike's kids are coming of age and it's their turn to run the country.
This is because what is it? Jenny Thomas and who is it? Was it Alito's wife that had the flag upside down or something like that? Yeah, listen to this. This is Mrs. WALZ
every day.
She's a lunatic.
How many chances do you get? My answer to that is as many chances as you need.
Keep letting them out of jail.
Which doesn't really please those law and order people.
Doesn't really please those law and order people, I mean, hey, let the criminals out as much as you can. It doesn't. This is going to really tick off those law and order people, the ones that want to uphold the Constitution and the United States way of life. Yeah, forget that.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's very interesting. I mean, because I could go down this whole rant and about where I think Democrats get it right on the Fourth Amendment and where conservatives get it right on the Fourth Amendment, yet both sides also abuse the Fourth Amendment all the time. For example, the FBI. Democrats love the FBI right now. They're holding up the integrity of the FBI.
Yeah.
FBI doesn't have integrity. We know that.
Correct.
So there's that Fourth Amendment violation. They're okay with that. And what they're not okay with now, as they say, is the Fourth Amendment violations on, say, lower income communities. None of us should be okay with any of those Fourth Amendment violations. But to the fact where you're like, okay, let's just look at Kamala Harris's record, for example. Because Kamala Harris wanted to be cool, she pushed out the Minnesota Freedom Fund. Again, this is the state that Tim Walz is coming from. And the Minnesota Freedom Fund was an organization that was very small prior to George Floyd getting killed in Minneapolis. Very small, where they got like $150,000 a year in funding.
Yeah.
So what they would do is they'd take that $150,000.
Wasn't that BLM or was that?
No, this is the Minnesota
one. Okay, got it. All right.
Yeah. So Minnesota Freedom Fund, $150,000 budget. So you take a couple people, you get a couple lawyers, you get a couple cases, you go defend someone that is disadvantaged because they can't pay their fine. Like maybe they got arrested for something not violent. Minnesota Freedom Fund comes in, defends them, helps them get out on bail and face a trial. So after George Floyd, Kamala Harris and a bunch of other people decided this was the organization, the Minnesota Freedom Fund, that we need to promote. So they promoted it, and they got all this money coming in, millions and millions and millions of dollars. So an organization goes from $150,000 in funding to millions. They don't know what to do with it. So they start defending everybody, getting everybody that they can out on bail. One of them got out and killed, I think it was his ex-girlfriend.
Yep.
That was bailed out by this money that Kamala et al. Promoted. And again, not thinking that this was a tiny organization doing good work in many aspects, but gets flooded in and can't manage all of that. But we feel good because we donated and retweeted things that helped a criminal get out and kill his ex-girlfriend.
Yeah. Change our profile pic. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, and this is a winning message and tactic if the two candidates do debate, Trump and Kamala, because of what happened in Minnesota under Tim Walz.
And Timmy's not done. We got one more little example of Timmy here. Timmy is it was a captain of the lockdown. He was overseeing everybody losing their jobs, the economy completely tanking, and all of this. And my favorite part of that was this. This is just I can't believe this was a thing.
Hello, you have reached the Department of Public Safety stay-at-home hotline. The information you leave is considered public information. At the tone,
hotline.
Please leave the following information: your name, your callback number, how the stay-at-home order is being violated, and where the stay-at-home order was violated. Thank you.
Yeah.
Record your message at the tone.
Yeah. Stay-at-home violations. You got to report those stay-at-home violations. Somebody going out there and maybe shooting free throws in his driveway. Nope. You got to report it. Snitches get stitches, but not in Minnesota under Tim WALZ. Tim WALZ had that thing going on. That's just I mean, we can't forget. I don't understand how quickly we can forget this noise, this nonsense. How do we forget that we were locked down? We were shut down. People lost their jobs, their businesses, their small businesses, their family businesses. And we're just going to let these punks get away with it. It is absolutely is mind-blowing to me that anyone that voted for any of this shutdown crap, especially a hotline that you can call in and be a little snitch and say somebody went next door and had a beer with his buddy, walked across the street, they stood in the middle of the street and just, like I do in my hood, just hang out there with a beer and chat. I'd get called in for that. Do not forget this. This guy is going to be, seriously, one misstep off of Air Force One away from being the president of the United States.
So this is why I say we're going to vote this in, because it should be obvious that America isn't really down with lockdowns. The reality is millions of people were fine with it. Millions of people were perfectly fine giving up all of their constitutional rights for this illusion of safety that was never came to fruition.
True.
That's the reality of America, though. And that's what I try to get across is the message is that America is going to destroy itself, because we always blame the politicians and we say the politicians stink and they suck and this, that, and the other thing. And that's accurate. But we have to remember that we're the ones that put them there constantly, continuously. So the shutdown policies that we're talking about, Mike, and you're absolutely right. How many of those governors' popularity went up? Now this is a guy who is potentially going to be the vice president of the United States that was perfectly fine saying, I don't really care about any of your damn constitutional rights.
No.
It's a national crisis. There's a lab-made virus that China let out somehow that came from a bat in nature, right? And we reacted this way, and America rewarded people for this. Because again, when push comes to shove, people don't want to be free. When times get tough, people don't want to solve problems. People want the problem solved. Not everybody, but enough of us in America have become okay with the government deciding what's right and what's wrong and just make it easy for me. I don't want to think about it.
Sorry, I was singing Billy Ocean in my head when the going gets tough.
Tough get going.
When the going gets rough.
By the way, one of my favorite concert experiences of all time, Billy Ocean.
That's why I was saying. That's why I brought it up.
Hell yeah.
I would not sing unless I knew it would be this. And we understand that. We totally get that. Problem is, to the rest of the world, to the rest of all of us, to we the people, look at Minnesota, we're like, what the hell? You brought us Ilhan Omar. What in the world are you guys doing out there? What is wrong with you people? So yeah, so it's I understand that. It's not the entirety, but yeah.
Well, you always look at that map. I don't know if you see a map of the colors of America, and they have the red and the blue. And the blue is basically all cities.
Yep.
And then there's a bunch of red. But the reality is nobody lives in those red areas. Yeah, it's a lot of land where no one lives. Like, we congregate in cities. And this is one of the challenges electorally for Republicans, is not doing well in cities. Because cities then end up making the policies for the entire nation, Minnesota just being one example of that Hennepin County, where most of the population lives in Minnesota, thinks and acts one way because convenience, city life, etc., versus if you have land, if you have an acre, you have a farm. It's different as far as representation goes, and value systems are completely different too. Education systems are completely different. Let's even look at Butler County, Ohio, where the former president almost got, well, he did get shot, but almost got assassinated. They have a rifle club at that high school that kid went to, the shooter. Like, that doesn't happen in cities. My high school in Massachusetts didn't have a rifle club. They would have been what? Why would anyone propose such a thing? It's Massachusetts. We don't do that kind of thing. So that's just an example of how cities kind of run things because of population, and the policies in cities are way different than they would be elsewhere.
I gotta tell you, Brendan, you're right. They did give us Prince, so that does make sense. And I did. You went with the Purple Heart there. I see what you did. I will give that credit every time. Fantastic. That's basically one of our this basically generation's like Mozart's. That guy was the musical genius, unparalleled. Maybe even by who else would I throw up there? Who else would throw up there in that genre of genius? Believe it or not, Weird Al Yankovic is known as probably one of the most genius musicians there is.
Yeah, I mean,
he's
like
so respected in the community.
Michael Jackson, Marvin Gaye, there's just these Bill Withers, certain artists that were just able to elevate.
Wait, do I have the album? Do you get the album?
You
no,
probably
you don't. You don't
but you
have
do have
the
Charlie
album.
Mingus. Mm-hmm.
Yes, Charlie Mingus.
Charlie Mingus. You went jazz on me, Kamala. Good job.
And here's the deal. I do give credit to the Trump campaign. I don't know if you've been paying attention this morning. The Trump campaign was on this. Trump, they already has, I think, 2 or 3 commercials out for this WALZ character. They ain't playing. And they're not just sitting there going, oh yeah, he's a socialist. So people are gonna care. Dude, he just signed a law. The guy just signed a law in Minnesota allowing all these migrants that were flown to by the Biden administration. Remember the ones that didn't cross the border, the ones that were actually flown from destinations to the United States with the Biden administration. They get driver's licenses now. The only requirement you have to vote in Minnesota, driver's license. This is I mean, there's so much going on here with this WALZ guy. Maybe it's to distract from Kamala because she is so incompetent.
By the way,
so incompetent.
I do believe the momentum has swung back in Trump's direction. I think that, again, we're going to go up and down, up and down, up and down. My contention is there's going to be a close election. It's going to be fought. It's turnout game. It's turnout machine game. And I think the momentum is going to go kind of back and forth, back and forth. And the reason I say this is, the golf videos that Bison DeChambeau went out and played golf with the president? I didn't think so. I thought they were kind of eh. But I did think a video yesterday of him with this guy named Aiden Ross, who's a big streamer. So Aiden Ross shows up and gives Trump a Cybertruck. And on the side of the Cybertruck is the Trump image with his fist in the air after getting shot. Fight, fight, fight. The moment he comes out and he looks at the Cybertruck and Aiden Ross asks him about, and you can see this video on Twitter. I should have pulled it, but I was doing it at 2 a.m. and I didn't think about it. And Trump's just being Trump. Trump says, it's rather a shame that Google just changed that image. And what they did is they took those agents' faces and they made them smile. It's like, that's rather unfortunate. He didn't do the over-the-top Trump thing. He just said it. Because, Mike, you remember this. And if you guys listen to Russell and Hunter, you may remember me saying this. Trump's best moments as president when he was walking to the helicopter, Marine Force One, and he would stop and he would talk to the reporters. Those were his best authentic moments. Those moments, if I were his strategist, I would pull. I would pull that moment with Aiden Ross, and I would just play that over and over and over and over again because he looks presidential. He doesn't sound emotional. He doesn't sound like Trump does all the time. He's just being presidential.
That's why I think the golf was brilliant. That's why I think the golf, it showed him, and it might be boring to you because I understand that. But if you look at it from a campaign strategy, whether you were bored with it or not, you have 18 holes, 4 hours of content of Trump being a normal human being, not being an arrogant ass, not bragging about anything. I don't think there was any bragging at all, except for he said something about, think Biden could do that or something to that effect. But other than that, it quite literally was just a dude out there enjoying golf, and not a lot of people get to see him in that light. But every time, in Rob and I can tell, I think Rob will come with me on this, that we talk to even politicians, we talk to staffers, we talk to people that worked with Donald Trump. They all have the same thing to say about him. Dude, he's just a cool, normal guy. He's a really nice guy, a genuinely kind dude that remembers your parents' name or whatever you had going on, and he asks you about it. He's just a good dude. So it's that kind of thing where, like you said, if you take the clip from yesterday when he got the Rollie too, he got a Rolex, and it was like he was almost confused with what it was. He was like, okay, he's like, and he even said to the guy, he's like, my kids told me you're a really big deal. I didn't know who the hell you were.
But that's also an interesting strategy too, and who he's talking to. Because last time it was CNN. In 2016, he did all the interviews on CNN. Yeah. Now he's going around the media because, as we always say, the media is essentially irrelevant now. The CNNs of the world. I hate to say it, the KFYIs of the world, and not real relevant anymore.
Yeah.
And Trump understands that. He's going around it because he knows that, number one, that CNN's not going to give him the attention now. So he's got to create it a different way. And this is the strategy to do that. And it's an effective strategy.
Jake and Logan Paul, the top 2 kick streamers in the world. I mean, what he has and what he's getting backing from is, again, what Rob, just to Rob's point right there, was that that's the way you get to a generation that's not watching CNN, doesn't give a rat's ass about CBS News, doesn't know who George Stuffing Envelopes is, has no idea. But people like Brendan see, talking about the course landscaping and say, look at those maple trees over there. Like there's a human piece of that and a human element that he is actually showing to an entire generation and group of people. I mean, his backing is no joke. How about this? I don't know if you saw this today, Rob. And they, I don't know his name. He owns TMZ, runs TMZ, does the show. I don't remember the guy's name. Anyway,
Harvey Levin.
Thank you. Harvey Levin. He is releasing a documentary on the assassination attempt. TMZ is. You wouldn't think TMZ has a conservative bone in their body, but listen to this.
Studios has a new documentary that drops on Tubi. It's called Under Fire, the Trump Assassination Attempt. And it is, I think, pretty shocking. We have a number of former Secret Service officials on talking about how shocking the security lapses were.
There was nothing good that I have to say about how those events unfolded.
They talk about a debate that's going on that women were allegedly placed in the position on the stage there, even though they were too short.
Half of those people are women. That is a conscious decision that was made purely for optics purposes. They put him into just as much danger as if they weren't there at all.
Everything that I've seen, they did textbook.
I understand the tragedies that occurred at that site with somebody dying and losing their life and the injuries, but a protectee of the United States Secret Service is alive. At the end of the day, that's a win.
And when you...
Wow. TMZ, I go on to say it's a lengthy. TMZ doing this. I'm the TMZ getting into politics, but this is an important thing. And the thing that I would tip the hat to TMZ for doing is keeping the assassination attempt in the minds of America. How do we forget about that? But we've moved on as a news cycle to this WALZ cat and everything that he's doing instead of, they just took a shot at the prez. That just almost took a bleeping candidate out. So, I mean, this keeps that front and center. When you said the momentum shift is going back, Rob, I think you're right in that because of things like this, because of places that like top kick streamers in the world, you wouldn't expect to be back in Trump. But meanwhile, you have people being paid $150 by Kamala's campaign to post a positive picture about coconuts or something like that. Is they're doing a coconut dance? What she have, a coconut tree? Did she say something about a coconut tree?
I'm sure she had.
Pineapple tree?
I didn't fall out of the coconut tree yesterday.
Yeah, she got a brain of a coconut. Yeah, but that's what they're doing. So meanwhile, actually, let me actually point this out if I could, Rob, if you give me a second on this. So what I want to do this is what is happening on Kamala's side for reach to the younger generation. Yep. They're paying these people $150 a piece per post to do this. Okay. And then you have, just they keep going. There are a bunch of people doing this. Anyway, so these guys they have a certain amount of social following. They get to do this, and why is this not going back to what we're doing? Hello, I'm having tech problems here, Robbie. You got to get us back to our normal spot way. Thanks, pal. But that's what is being touted for Kamala. But then we have Jake and Logan Paul, and we have the top kick streamers and people like that of massive influence. And the dude showing up and giving Donald Trump a cyber truck. I mean, that's wildly more powerful in that space than what they have on the DNC. With the DNC, they used to own that space.
Well, and again, it's going to be a turnout game. So all of this stuff it's meant to drive this, right? So what I'm just framing this up is this going to be close. It's going to come down to a couple of states. Just be prepared for that. So what the Kamala camp is doing is trying to do what Democrats have always done. But I want to pull in this real quick from I I've been having challenges with Vivek Ramaswamy, but he's saying some really interesting things. So he said this on Twitter. It's kind of backing up what we're saying, Mike. And I know this is hard to see.
Yeah, I can't see that, homie.
I'll just kind of paraphrase what he's saying is. He says, labeling Kamala as radical left, because that's one of the first things that came out. She's a San Francisco liberal. That term has been used so much, it's not effective. And that's what Vivek is saying. The best attack is one that's more true. Kamala is just another pawn in a corrupt system. Biden, Kamala, Buttigieg, Shapiro, it doesn't matter. We're not running against an individual candidate or candidates. We're running against a system. We seek to restore self-governance over managerial oligarchy. And I think that, Mike, that's exactly what you're saying. And I think to Trump's advantage here is that he does have the young male demo, right? The momentum there, because that's a huge part of the turnout. Because Democrats are relying on young voters to win. So if Trump can make an inroad in that, he has a better advantage. So you can see the different strategies. Whereas Kamala's paying, Trump is existing on that almost mythical like figure that he is as far as branding goes. These are huge brands. This Aiden Ross guy, Logan and Jake Paul, interviewing the biggest brand of all time in Donald Trump, certainly plays to his advantage.
It's the Muhammad Ali of brands, really, is what he is. And that is, but the wild thing to me is that it's, I guess the encouraging thing to me is it's organic. It really is. And the Democrats aren't coming out with really much about the whole, good people on both sides and playing a litany of, maybe some screw ups and press conferences during COVID. They're not doing squat really in that. They're trying to build up Kamala as someone who is actually ready for this task. And that's if you look at their advertising, at least the advertising that I've seen, I've been watching all the Olympics and all that stuff like that. So I've been seeing a lot of that. MLB.com, they've got them in Spanish. I mean, they're going out there and the DNC's doing, what they do with their advertising, but it's not really hit pieces on Trump. It's trying to get it, but I understand that. But I think right now in their phase is we've got to con people into thinking that she really is ready to do this when we know damn well she's not. We have phase one is get people to at least buy into what we did, and then we'll go from there, right? But then 100%. You have
define the candidate, say she's ready, and then remind everybody as it gets to September and October, you'll see January 6th images, you'll see criminal, felon. That'll be the Democrat strategy.
And so, okay, so let's talk about the Democrat strategy. What happens if they lose? What happens if Trump wins? Did you see Jamie Raskin? So Jamie Raskin was in a little book center. I'm going to find this here. So I believe this is it right here.
Last night, I was most worried about the Supreme Court's prospective imminent abdication of its very clear duty to disqualify Donald Trump from the ballot under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, and what that might mean if their decision says that it's really up to Congress on January 5th or January 6th, 2025, to disqualify him at the counting of the Electoral College votes, which really could lead to something akin to civil war, if that's what the suggestion is, which is what I think I heard when I went to the oral argument, that they themselves were unwilling to rule whether or not the Colorado Supreme Court was correct in finding that he had engaged in insurrection on January 6, 2021. So
not a court's job.
That was just last night's worry. So
what's that one?
Not a court's job. The court isn't to determine whether or not Donald Trump engaged in insurrection. That's not how.
Fine and good. Yeah, that's Raskin saying what Democrats are going to do. We're going to take care of this. If we lose in November, we're going to handle this in January. Okay.
They're going to do exactly what Trump did.
Yep. By the way, in which they did in 2016. Well, it's the same thing they tried to do in 2016, what they say Trump tried to do in 2020, and they're going to do it in 2024.
And that's the system of government that is America, right? And that's that cold hard reality is the government has so many weapons to use, it can choose to use them whenever it wants. And that's to Vivek Ramaswamy's point. That's really what the vote is. The vote is against a system that has a lot of power that can be used against anybody. Now, the question for me becomes, how is Trump going to use it? Because he says a lot of weird things that he's going to use it like the Democrats, but I'm not sure that I fully believe him on that because he didn't do that in 2017 when he went in office.
Well, I think his new team's hitting it. I think his new team is firing on all cylinders. I think they're actually living up to their hype or whatever got Trump to jump on their train, because I keep going back to this, is that, that goofy people doing that stupid coconut dance and that they're getting paid by Kamala's campaign for. That's their old stuff. That's just their old moves. Trump is moving to a new playbook, and the Democrats are staying with their own playbook, including leaning on celebrities, right? So if you're leaning on celebrities, nobody gives a rat's ass what a celebrity says or thinks. Doesn't care. I pulled this from because it's everything for Kamala. I think we're gonna get house cats for Kamala at one point, maybe golden retrievers for Kamala at another point. But this was comedians for Kamala, I think is, or comics for Kamala. And Ben Stiller comes in hot with I'm matching your 150, but I want you to hear the insane arrogance and self-centeredness of this. This man is not going to change one vote at all because Ben Stiller said.
I just want to let you know I'm going to match your $150,000 donation.
Oh,
that's cool.
Okay.
Just get the ball rolling.
And what is it?
Cool.
Good.
Yeah, comics for Kamala.
Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Probably another funny guy here to tell you why to vote for Kamala Harris. But I feel like I'm different because I'm not a comic. I'm an actor.
Loves him some him.
I played Derek Zoolander. I was in Dodgeball.
We know.
Tropic Thunder, baby.
He didn't say Tropic
Thunder. If you're old enough to get that reference.
He said he got his penis caught in a zipper. Yeah.
I know whereof I speak.
Franks and beans.
Me. This is where I imagine thousands of people are just.
Get to the point, Ben.
Yeah, no, he just did. He said, I'm an actor, so you can trust me. And I want thousands and thousands of people are waiting to see how I'm going to vote.
Seriously,
it's absolutely absurd. It's absurd. And then he goes into some rant about how Kamala is just qualified. She's the right person that believes in democracy and won't threaten democracy. Yes, the one person that was planted without one vote believes in democracy and will protect democracy. But this doesn't. Again, it goes back to the Democrats' play that they're going to say, this has always worked for us. So we're going to stick to this one. It's like the whole losing with dignity crap the Republicans did for so long. So it's just, it works for us every time. Yeah, it works for us. It's always worked for us. If you always do what you always done, you always get what you always got. I don't think I think the Republicans are actually making a move that's impressive.
Well, and this is part of the big cultural divide we see in America. And it's, there's obviously talk about civil war all the time because we're really divided, but it's not going to come down to that. I don't know what it's going to look like, but it's not going to be like it was in 1862. Certainly not, because the divisions are different. The makeup is different, but we are definitely on way different sides of the aisle, and I think that that's a big part of it is the left strategy. The Democrat strategy is to really make it all about Donald Trump and what will happen if he wins. And that's their, trying to make themselves be the heroes of democracy as a cover, and they're doing that on purpose because of what their plans are to fundamentally change the country constitutionally. That is already happening, that we are, again, as a country, seemingly voting into place and okay with. Like, that's that big part. Getting back to it is, it's not that the Ben Stiller matters. It's that millions of people don't see through this. Millions of people don't understand what America is supposed to be, or that when it hits the fan, the government ain't coming to save you. I see Gina's in this chat room, and Gina used to hang out with me down in New Orleans. So we know that firsthand. When Hurricane Katrina came through, if everybody wanted the government to save them, guess who wasn't going to save you? The government. The government put people in perilous positions instead of getting people out, because fundamentally what we think of government in this country isn't true. We have this belief that this is the catch-all, that somehow government's going to solve poverty, or government's going to make the system more equitable and fairer. Government never has done that, ever, in the history of governments. American government, the reason it works is because there's less of it. Yet we keep always thinking the government is here to solve problems. And to go back to the Ben Stiller, that ideology that has embedded itself in half this country is the other big challenge that you have to try to influence. That, yeah, you can keep doing this if you want to end up like, I don't know, China, Russia, hell, France, if you want to look at it that way. There are so many limited opportunities for you to make a great living in France than there are in America. If that's what we want and we want to vote in place, let's talk in 20 years and see if we regret that.
but don't pretend like we aren't like when you talk about momentum shifting. Like what happened in the markets yesterday, and it's correcting, that's fine, but that was a giant wake-up call. Like, oh, wait a second, okay, really, if this woman is at the helm, this is going to be an interesting thing, because we're in a recession. We've been trying to slap band-aids on this thing for 2.5 years now. We are in a damn recession, and if you don't believe that we're in a recession, just check this out. Ain't there in 30 minutes is free, baby. Ain't there in 30 minutes is free. You can't get it. 30 minutes is free. You're gonna get it there. Yeah, we're in a recession. People driving big giant cars like that. Exotic cars delivering for Domino's. How fun would it have been to be that dude's boss that guy just came in he's got to go deliver pizzas, and you're like, oh, by the way, we have to put this on you got to put this on your car. You've got to put this on your car. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I would have followed it all the way to see who got that extra pizza delivery in a Lambo, because is that like Uber X where you get to charge more because you get your pizza delivered in a fancy car? Because on Uber X, Uber X, you can have like a bigger car come get you, like an SUV if you have 4 people. Yeah. Maybe we should do that. Domino's, like you can get your pizza delivered in a Lamborghini for an extra $1.
I'd call it a little more extra than $1.
Come on. I mean, you got to pay for Lambo gas. You got to pay for premium gas. And probably get about 8 miles per gallon in that puppy.
Yeah,
maybe 4.
I wonder what the gas mileage is. It's got to be like, it's gonna be 9. It's gonna be like an excursion. Go ahead.
Lamborghini average gas mileage. Let's see what Siri says. If Siri knows the answer to that question.
Mm-hmm.
Waiting. We're waiting. Well, we're waiting. So never mind. My idea fell flat. Mike's gonna try it though. Let's see. Yeah, I got nothing.
8 to 15.
All right. Here we go.
15's better than my F-150. I'm going to give him that.
Oh, yeah. See? I am 15. How many years would it take me to be able to buy a Lamborghini? That's the question that popped up on my Siri search.
Oh.
Depends on what you do.
Okay,
but if you start saving now, you might be able to buy one.
$1,000 a head running people from the border.
See? Boom. Just don't get in a high-speed chase with the Pinal County Sheriff's Office. Bad idea.
But I am, and it's important to just kind of, as we've just had this conversation evolve, and the conversation that kind of moved to the strategies of both sides. And the funny thing about Kamala, and the reason why I'm so confident in the Trump win, is that Kamala is her own Trump commercial. Every time she speaks, for the DNC to be allowing this woman to go anywhere off script, it's either showing me that they're throwing her to the wolves and they know she's going to just basically cackle her way out of a shot at the White House, or they think that, hey, we already tried that thing with Biden when we had him in the basement. We don't think we can pull that off again. Somebody's got to muzzle her. Somebody has to put her on a teleprompter and say, that is your marching orders. You do not speak. Give her some of those plaque cards, right? The ones that those little placards that Biden carries around. Give her some of those. Keep her on script. Listen, this is from yesterday. This is the most cringy thing I've seen in a minute. Watch.
We have to stay woke.
Watch.
Like everybody needs to be.
Watch the interviewer's face. She is like, how in the world is this woman saying this? Watch her face.
We have to stay woke.
Come on.
Like everybody needs to be woke.
Look at her face. Look at the interviewer's face right there on the right. She's like, oh God, is she really?
And you can talk about if you're the wokest or woker, but just stay more woke than less woke.
Yeah. That's so cringy.
Look, we have to stay woke.
Gotta stay woke.
Like everybody needs to be woke. And you can talk about if you're the wokest or woker, but just stay more woke than less woke.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, man.
It is amazing
she's her own Trump commercial.
But it's amazing how uncomfortable she is in those situations. Her confidence just evaporates. Like if she's prosecuting, she's delivering a speech, she's confident. She stands there, she delivers the lines. If there's nothing of that, it's a completely different person. I don't know that I've ever seen anything that dramatic from a politician in my 25 years of doing this. That dramatic switch. Like, W was not great off the cuff because he often stumbled his words, but he wasn't that great of a speaker either.
He was a nerd.
He was a nerd, but he was like the right guy at the right time, at least at the very beginning in his first term. And, he had the big line down at, the ground zero, right? That, I can't hear you while the people that knocked down these buildings will be hearing from all of us soon, whatever the actual line was. That was a great moment. Kamala just does not seem that she's ever going to have a moment like that, because I don't know what happens to her when the teleprompter goes away, when she's not in front of a jury, when she's not in front of a debate screen. She just becomes vacant.
Kamala's a bully. That's exactly what Kamala is. Kamala's bullied her way to where she is. And I mean, go with Willie Brown's wife if you want to. I mean, we can talk about the people that she's knocked out of the way for her own advancement. Outside of that, she knows she's a fraud. She knows she is not up for this. She knows she was not even up to be the vice president of the United States. That's why we see her in a situation where she's not on script. She has zero confidence. None. That's why I said W was a nerd. W had a hell of a lot of confidence. W loves some W. W knew he came from a political American dynasty. He knew that. And so he had that confidence. He was just a nerd, and he talked in a nerdy way, and he said nerdy things, and that was really it. Obama had the confidence. Clinton had the confidence, and they rarely went off like that. And Clinton even had the confidence to stop and pause. And Rob and I know this. In radio and media, silence is deafening. When you have the confidence to stop speaking for a moment and let that silence settle in, Clinton was a master at that. This woman does not know what to do if there's a millisecond of silence besides start cackling to fill that time. She doesn't have the confidence because she has done nothing in her career that would prepare her to be remotely ready for this.
And yet she still has a chance. Like that's the part that blows my mind. But again, that just shows the highlighted division, because this is like the Biden election to me. Should have been easy. Wasn't easy for whatever reason we think. Nonetheless, the result is what the result is. And this is my challenge to Republicans. My challenge to Republicans is, if you're a Kerry Lake, how do you not win? How do you not win against these candidates? How is that even possible? Because if Republicans as a party cannot figure out how to beat these people, you really have to reconfigure a lot of things in the party, because what you're doing isn't working. Because that person, Kamala Harris, could be a senator forever. Not a big deal if she can't deliver lines while doing an interview. But when you're president, everything you say matters. Everything you do matters. You are on the clock 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, especially now because we can't turn it off. That is, when you look at what Kamala is doing in her performance, that's going to be her performance as president of the United States. Because does it seem like she can really tackle complicated, nuanced challenges like Israel is facing right now? Is Iran going to attack? Is Hamas and Hezbollah going to attack? Is there anyone left in Hamas and Hezbollah to attack? What could Kamala do in that situation to calm it down, to prevent all-out war from happening? That, to me, is the case right there, Mike.
Well, the thing, I think what Jim said here is important as well. So Jim said, we're trying to be someone you're not. Carries the not. It's very true. And the weird thing is that I'll use Kamala as the example. And I don't know so much about Carrie. Carrie flipped quick. I mean, she turned, not flip. She turned to that kind of that Trump role in a hurry. Kamala is just fake. Kamala doesn't know how to be Kamala Harris. She doesn't know who Kamala Harris is. And she's such a greasy, swampy, opportunist politician that you wouldn't even know. Joe Biden doesn't know who Joe Biden is. He's so greasy. Like they have no idea. They've been playing a character. It's been an act, and they've gotten away with it until, I don't know, the just social media and the internet And now we're kind of calling him out on it, and it's getting exposed. And that's why I think over half of the voting base in this nation loves Donald Trump, because he ain't faking the funk. The dude is who he is. The dude is who he's always been. It's not something, it's not a character. He is the character. That's Donald Trump. And that's valuable.
Well, and this is where I'm at. I don't think an electoral victory, whoever wins, is not a victory for America. Because the victory for America comes in trying to do something about this incredibly nasty division that we have. I mean, the real partisans love to call each other names and love to drag each other down, which has always been the case. But the language is way worse. So for me, I try to think about, again, the future, not just about November. Because whatever's going to happen, someone in January is going to take over. We're going to have a brand new president, or a guy that was a president a term ago and is back for his second term. How do you start to say, okay, country, we got a cart coming this way because we're currently going this way? So how do you make it a victory for everybody in this country by starting to kind of round it out to make it come in here? And I mean, I think there are numerous ways to do it, but I just... that's what I'm really thinking about. Is November's one thing, but it's how we're governed over the next 4 years that are incredibly important for the next 20 years.
Well, I don't think it's on let me put it this way. I don't think it's on whoever takes over in the White House to bring us all kumbaya together. Because you think about sports teams, maybe after the World Series or something like that. Both teams are at the club partying and having a good time together. There's a very unifying vibe with success. There's a very unifying vibe with a strong economy. There's a unifying vibe with $2 a gallon gas, groceries that people can afford, jobs that people actually have. That's a lot of unifying. There's a lot of unification behind that, because you can say, I hate Donald Trump. Then Donald said, look at my numbers. Everybody seemed to be happy and getting along. And by the way, no one's attacking us. I don't think it's on them to say, we as a nation, and Republicans and Democrats and cats and dogs, and we all need to get together. It needs to be, dude, show up, do your damn job, do it well, put this crap back together, keep us safe, shut down the border, get the economy on the right track, and we're good. Everybody's good. Nobody can battle that. That's unifying, I would say.
I hope so. I wish I believed that. I don't believe that that's where America is right now, because we essentially had that right up till COVID. We had a good economy. We had low gas prices. Yeah. We had energy bills that weren't increasing $100 a month, as everyone in the Valley now is experiencing. We didn't have any of that. Now we have all that. And even when we had it, we weren't unified.
Hold on. But here's the deal. So I said the same thing to intern Beans. It's my daughter. She's about to go out. She's about to go have her own apartment. She's going to have to be paying utility bills, watching when the lights are on, and this and that. She said, I didn't know when I had it good. I knew when it was taken away, when I didn't have it good, right? And now I long for the days where I had it good. So you're right. I'm not saying you're wrong in that. I'm agreeing with you that at that point, we didn't realize it. It was weird. Our lives were so good. We got ticked off and crazed about the dumbest things that just like, why was that's a thing now? Is our life so good that we have that to worry about? Now that we look and we're just in the mud right now, you look back and go, God dang, solid land was a lot nicer back then. I'd like that. And I think that would be unifying. That's what.
Yeah, I hope so. I really do. I hope so. I just think that the country is such a weird place that we haven't been in since probably the 1850s and 1860s. So how do you take it? You take success is going to be one level, but there's got to be other levels, I think, to it as far as strategery goes to get the message back in, and I think that, Gina's point here is valid, right? Because this is happening everywhere. Because 34-year-olds can't afford to live anywhere because the prices are so high. And, Gina,
they're back in the day, but you could back in the day. And that's,
I bought this house in 2017. I couldn't afford it now. It's been 7 years I've lived in this house, and there's no way, because interest rates are high and the house value is 1.5, close to 2 times what I paid for it.
So that's it. I've told you. Watch. You watch. Just watch. When I win the bet, hold on. When I win the bet and Donald Trump is president and things start to get restored back to the ways of old, I would see it and feel a unification. I think you will.
We'll see. I mean, I hope so. Like I said, I'm optimistic and I'm hopeful. I just think it's going to require more than, because here's a challenge. It's going to take probably 2 years of effort and work.
Yeah.
To kind of redo this economy and get a tax structure and pass the tax cuts again. That means you have to win the Senate also in the House. So, there's a lot of work ahead to restore that. And almost everything has to line up perfectly in order to do that. While if Trump wins, having to deal with a Jamie Raskin type, a congressman who's going to use every tool in the book to try to knock this administration out of place.
Or we can just do this. Hold on.
Yeah.
Stay woke. That's all we need to do is stay woke.
We have to stay woke.
That's all we have to do.
Everybody needs to be woke.
That's it. That's all we do.
And you can talk about if you're the wokest or woker, but just stay more woke than less woke.
You could throw the blonde lady, you could throw a handful of snakes in her lap and she'd be more comfortable than just going through this awkward moment with this cackling crazy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So anyway, just stay woke, gang. That's all you have to do. We have to stay woke. Hey, let's do it again tomorrow, shall we? We'll do it tomorrow at noon. He's Rob Hunter. I'm Mike Russell. Thank you all for hanging out. Cheers. Jose, good to see you again. Truman, good to see you again as well. Jim, everybody. Lynn, Grizz, y'all the peeps. We love having you around. Rhonda, thank you so much for playing along. And we will we'll see you tomorrow at noon right here on Russell and Hunter.